I was just thinking to myself while I was getting ready, if aliens were to watch my video, what would they think of me? Would they? And that's not crazy. Crazy is thinking that there's no aliens, okay? Good morning, fellow travelers. If this is your first time here, let me introduce myself. My name is Mari. I will be making videos about things that I really care about, things that I've learned, and things that I'm still trying to learn as I go along this journey of life, of my life. And by doing so, I hope that I can guide others and maybe spark an interest in you of wanting to know more, curiosity. In today's video, we will be exploring about trauma. Specifically, what I have learned about my trauma so far into my journey. I am 22. I'm almost 23. Am I going to panic? I mean, it's just 23. It's not. This is one of my favorite topics because there's so much we can discuss. There's just so many things we can learn about, which will then allow us to start being there for ourselves. I don't know, maybe you're like, what do you mean by myself? I'm with myself all the time, when I eat, when I'm crying, when I'm sleeping. Also, by understanding ourselves and our trauma, we can understand others. And all that sounds really good to me, which is why I study psychology. But there is something to keep in mind. There will always be a space that will exist between you and someone else. The inward, a space where perception exists and sensation. All of our different experiences, etc. And all of that exists inward. Before I share what I've learned about trauma, let's start with, what is trauma? I used to think that trauma was about what happens to you and how it traumatizes you. I would think about specific events that were chaotic, dangerous, because the more dangerous the experience was, the more traumatic it should be. Trauma is not about comparing which one is worse. And trauma is not what happens to you. Trauma is how you experience the event and how it impacts your nervous system. What you learn in... Wait, what? Stop. Trauma occurs when we consistently betray ourselves, and then it makes us believe that in order to receive love, we need to betray ourselves. This can appear in your life everywhere, from your friends to finding a lover. When you want to find someone and you think that you need to lower your expectations or just lower what you want because you want someone to be there, even though you're not getting what you want and what you need in someone else. And there's just a lot of things that can go down with betraying ourselves. And like I said, trauma is about how you experience the event and how it impacts your nervous system, which is important to highlight how different two people's experiences of one event can be. A great example for this would be siblings, your brothers, sisters who grew up in the same household. Trauma isn't stored in our bodies and our mind, which is why when we are ready to heal, we need both mind and body practices. Most of our childhood trauma comes from the experiences we have at home. This is where your parents come into the picture because they play a huge role. Because if you don't know, oh my god, because the relationship with your primary parent figures sets the foundation of all the relationships you're going to have as an adult. And that is the first thing I want to share, because unfortunately, some of us come from very dysfunctional homes, and that goes with what I want to say next, which is, no parent intends to traumatize their child. Our parents were once children who were traumatized by their own parents. So when their parents had their children, they did the best they could with the level of awareness they had. Those were the only tools they had, so it makes sense. Knowing this changed the way I looked at my parents and how I felt about them. The more I learned about trauma, it really did help me understand that both of my parents are traumatized people repeating the cycle that they once learned as children. This doesn't make things less painful or more acceptable. It just stops feeling like they're bad people who are hurting you on purpose, or they hurt you on purpose. I'm thankful because it led me to be curious as what the hell is going on here. Like, why, who, where, and why me? It's just very complicated to give myself an answer at that time. But then the more I asked the question, the more curious I got about how things happen and why things happen. Curiosity is a window and awareness is just power. I'm choosing to break cycles and I'm really happy about that. But I'm also really happy for you, because if you're watching this video, you're part of the Breaking Cycles Club. And you didn't know that, did you? Part of the Breaking Cycles Club. Oh, it's like the best place you can be. I promise you. You will not regret it. My trauma also taught me about survival mode. What is survival mode, you ask? Our fellow health professionals from Psychology Today have defined survival mode as an adaptive response of the human body to help us survive danger and stress. Okay? So, survival mode is a hypervigilant state that makes us, become super careful about who is around us and, always looking over our shoulders to see if we're being safe. And it makes sense. It makes sense because when we're a child, we rely on our parents for everything. And so when our parents are not available for us to feel safe, to give us that safety that we need, the child just closes up and it just becomes a very complicated situation for the child. And yeah, you guys can see the point, right? This can make us feel like people are out there to hurt us and have this lack of self-trust. When we're not aware of our traumas and the way it affects our nervous system, we as hurt people will hurt people. All of us have hurt someone and others in the past. Let's just admit that. To heal from trauma, drink every time I say trauma, just kidding. To heal from trauma, we must learn how to forgive ourselves and learn how to forgive ourselves while we were living in survival mode. I forgave myself for the things that I did in the past that were not okay, especially for letting others do things that were not okay either. And the more I keep doing this, it becomes more easy to, tap on my shoulder and be like, hey, baby girl, like, I know what you did, and I know it was not okay, and I understand why you did what you did, and I understand why you let certain things happen. But guess what? I'm here for you. I got your back. And guess what? I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for you. I got your back. So let's update you with what you know now. And I double dare you to do the same because honestly, let's just be honest here, you have come so far. And I know you know that. Like, I know you do. I know you know that you've come so far. So just remember to keep updating yourself because ultimately you are there for yourself. So I just want to say thank you for being there for yourself too because I know it's hard. Yeah. Keep that update button around you everywhere, every time because we're all learning here. Trauma has taught me that all humans in childhood develop certain types of behaviors and just a lot of behaviors to be able to protect themselves, to find a way to cope with what they're going through. As a result, these learned behaviors play a big role in how we move around today and how we feel. So although it might look dysfunctional right now in adulthood, it serves a purpose. Like, let me give you guys some examples. Keeping people at a distance so they cannot hurt us. Self-sabotage so we aren't in uncomfortable or unfamiliar situations. Using drugs and drinking, these are substances to regulate a dysregulated nervous system. At one point in my life, I thought that this was all normal because it's all new. So when I learned how trauma manifests everywhere, in our society, in our personal systems, in our families, I also learned that people do the best they can with the level of awareness they have. I like to think of it as we are all children in adult bodies. The first time we create a sense of self-identity and create relationships with others starts in childhood and it follows us for life. We then repeat trauma dynamics that become our normal to our everyday life. So let's break cycles and let's rip paper. I'm getting itchy, but yeah guys, thank you guys for watching and consider subscribing to our channel because I'm just starting and it's gonna get fun. It's gonna get funner. It's gonna get funner, guys. But most importantly, please take care of yourself and I will take care of me. Let's go get some funners. You want some funners? I'll buy you funners. Let's go.